What if Darth Vader crashed in the Marvel Universe? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. The vastness of hyperspace tears apart around Vader's Star Destroyer as rebel ships pursue through the cosmic maelstrom. The massive Imperial vessel, over a mile in length, groans under the relentless assault of a dozen X-wing fighters and 2 Corellian corvettes. Explosions rock the bridge as turbolaser batteries swivel desperately to track the nimble rebel craft weaving between the destroyer's superstructure. The Dark Lord of the Sith stands motionless on the command bridge, his cape billowing dramatically as officers scramble around him in barely controlled panic. Through the Force, he can sense every rebel pilot's location, every torpedo lock, every tactical decision being made by the enemy fleet. Yet something else tugs at his consciousness. Something wrong with the very fabric of space around them. Admiral Ozzel rushes to Vader's side, his face pale with terror and barely contained desperation. Sweat beads on his forehead as he struggles to maintain composure in the presence of the Empire's most feared enforcer. My lord, we're losing main power to the hyperdrive motivator. The rebels have somehow targeted our most critical systems with surgical precision. Our defensive screens are down to 60%, and we've lost contact with squadrons 7 and 12 entirely. Vader's mechanical breathing is the only sound as the bridge falls into an expectant silence. Every officer present knows that failure in the Dark Lord's presence often means death. The Imperial Navy has learned to fear both their enemies and their own leadership in equal measure. You disappoint me, Admiral. How does a handful of rebel scum penetrate the defenses of an Imperial Star Destroyer? The Admiral's throat constricts as an invisible grip closes around his windpipe. His feet leave the deck as Vader's gloved hand rises slowly, deliberately. Around them, bridge officers continue their duties, long accustomed to their superiors' brutal methods of maintaining discipline. I have given you every advantage, every resource the Empire can provide. Yet you allow these insects to buzz around my ship like it were some civilian transport. Perhaps your replacement will demonstrate the competence that you so clearly lack. With a sickening crack that echoes across the bridge, Admiral Ozzel's neck snaps. His body falls to the polished deck with a dull thud. And Vader turns toward Captain Piet without acknowledging the corpse at his feet. You are now Admiral Piet. Do not disappoint me as your predecessor did. Prepare my TIE Advanced for immediate launch. I will handle these rebels personally. Admiral Piet salutes crisply, his voice steady despite witnessing his promotion through violence. In the Imperial Navy, survival often depends on maintaining composure in the face of horror. At once, Lord Vader, Bay 94 is prepared for your departure. Shall we maintain pursuit course while you engage the enemy fighters? Negative. Continue toward the rendezvous coordinates. I will deal with this distraction and rejoin the fleet once these rebels have been eliminated. As Vader strides toward his personal hangar, the ship shudders under another barrage of proton torpedoes. Through the transparent steel viewports, he can see the distinctive silhouette of Luke Skywalker's X-wing leading the rebel formation. The young Jedi's presence burns bright in the Force, a beacon of light that both attracts and repels the Dark Lord. In Hangar Bay 94, Vader's custom TIE Advanced fighter sits in pristine condition, its solar panels gleaming under the artificial lighting. Unlike standard TIE fighters, this craft is equipped with deflector shields, hyperdrive capability, and advanced targeting systems that make it nearly the equal of any rebel starfighter. Imperial technicians scurry aside as Vader approaches his ship. Their duties completed with mechanical precision, the Dark Lord's presence radiates such menace that even experienced naval personnel give him a wide berth. His reputation for eliminating subordinates who displease him has spread throughout the Imperial fleet. Vader settles into the fighter's cockpit with practiced ease. His armor's life support systems interfacing seamlessly with the ship's environmental controls. The TIE's engines ignite with a characteristic scream as the fighter lifts from the hangar deck and accelerates through the magnetic containment field into open space. The tactical situation becomes immediately apparent as Vader's sensors identify 13 rebel craft in attack formation. Luke Skywalker's X-Wing leads the assault, flanked by Wedge Antilles and several other experienced pilots. 2 Y-Wing bombers are making torpedo runs against the Star Destroyer's bridge tower, while the remaining fighters provide cover. Through the Force, Vader can sense his son's determination and growing confidence. Luke has progressed significantly since their last encounter, his connection to the Force deepening with each passing day. But the young Jedi still lacks the discipline and focused hatred that makes a truly powerful Force user. Vader locks onto the nearest rebel fighter, a battle-scarred X-Wing piloted by someone whose fear he can taste through the Force. The pilot's panic feeds the Dark Lord's power as green laser bolts streak from his ship's cannons, finding their target with supernatural accuracy. The X-Wing explodes in a brilliant fireball, debris spinning away into the void as Vader selects his next victim. But even as he begins his attack run, something extraordinary begins to happen in the space around them. Reality itself seems to ripple and bend as strange energies cascade through the star system. The rebels' attack falters as pilots struggle to understand what their instruments are detecting. Energy readings spike beyond anything in their databases, and several fighters report total instrument failure. Luke Skywalker's voice crackles over the rebel communication frequency, confusion evident in his tone. The young Jedi can sense through the Force that something momentous is occurring, something that transcends their immediate battle. All wings report in. Are you seeing these readings? It's like space itself is coming apart. Red 5. This is Red Leader. My instruments are going crazy. Energy patterns unlike anything in our databases. Should we abort the mission? Before Luke can respond, the fabric of space-time begins to tear open directly between the Imperial and Rebel fleets. A brilliant blue vortex materializes, crackling with energies that seem to bend the fundamental laws of physics. The gravitational distortions are so powerful that both fleets find their ships pulled inexorably toward the anomaly. Vader feels the cosmic disturbance through the Force like a physical blow. This is no natural phenomenon, no mere stellar event. The energies involved are familiar yet alien, touching on aspects of the Force he has never encountered. Through the dark side, he senses that this rift leads to somewhere impossibly distant, perhaps even beyond their galaxy entirely. His TIE advance struggles against the gravitational tides as the vortex expands, consuming several rebel fighters and pulling his own ship off course. Vader pushes his engines to maximum power, but the exotic energies surrounding the rift seem to interfere with normal space-time, making conventional physics irrelevant. Luke Skywalker's X-Wing spins helplessly toward the vortex as the young Jedi fights desperately to regain control. Through the Force, Vader senses his son's terror and determination in equal measure. For a moment, paternal instinct wars with Sith teaching as the Dark Lord considers attempting a rescue. But the decision is taken from him as his own fighter is caught in the rift's inexorable pull. Reality twists around Vader's ship as it passes through the dimensional barrier, and for an instant that feels like eternity, he experiences visions of countless worlds, alien technologies, and beings of unimaginable power. Then everything goes black. The frozen wasteland of Antarctica stretches endlessly in all directions, a pristine wilderness of ice and snow, broken only by the occasional research station or scientific outpost. The savage land, hidden deep within this desolate continent, harbors secrets that most of Earth's population could never imagine. Prehistoric creatures roam through artificially maintained tropical valleys, while advanced technology lies buried beneath miles of permafrost. It is into this alien landscape that a streak of fire blazes across the polar sky at 3:47 a.m. local time. Vader's TIE advanced fighter, its hull glowing white-hot from atmospheric entry, impacts the ancient ice with tremendous force. The crash creates a crater nearly 200 meters across, sending chunks of glacier the size of buildings flying in all directions. The impact registers on seismic monitoring stations around the globe as a magnitude 4.6 earthquake. In Colorado, NORAD's Cheyenne Mountain facility immediately begins tracking the object's trajectory and point of impact within minutes. Every major intelligence agency on Earth is aware that something extraordinary has fallen from the stars. At SHIELD headquarters, the Triskelions' command center erupts into controlled chaos as technicians scramble to analyze the unprecedented energy readings. Director Nick Fury strides into the situation room, his long coat billowing as he surveys the tactical displays with his characteristic intensity. Agent Maria Hill approaches with a tablet full of preliminary data, her expression grim with the implications of what they're seeing. As SHIELD's deputy director, she has overseen responses to countless unusual incidents. But nothing quite like this. Sir, we've got something big. Energy signature detected over Antarctica approximately 6 minutes ago. Impact site is in the Savage Land region. Coordinates 77 degrees south, 15 degrees west. The object was approximately 12 meters in length and made of unknown materials. Fury studies the satellite imagery showing the massive crater and scattered debris field. Steam rises from the impact site where superheated metal meets ancient ice, creating an almost surreal landscape of fire and frost. Could be alien in origin. God knows we've had enough of those lately. What's the status on hazardous materials? Are we looking at radiation, biological contamination, or just your garden variety cosmic weirdness? No radiation detected. But there are energy patterns we've never seen before. The readings are, well, they're not matching anything in our database. Tony Stark might want to take a look at this personally. Assemble Strike Team Alpha. I want boots on the ground within 2 hours. Full hazmat protocols until we know what we're dealing with. And get me a direct line to the Avengers. If this is another Loki situation, I want them ready to respond. As SHIELD mobilizes its rapid response protocols, the wreckage of Vader's fighter begins to shift and move in ways that seem to defy physical laws. Twisted sections of hull plating bend outward as if pushed by invisible hands, and the distinctive whine of servo motors echoes across the empty landscape. Deep within the ruined cockpit, Darth Vader slowly regains consciousness. His armor's life support systems have maintained basic functions throughout the crash. But diagnostic readouts show extensive damage to both his suit and his ship. Through the Force, he extends his consciousness outward, assessing this alien world with the cold calculation that has made him the Empire's most feared enforcer. The planet's biosphere is surprisingly vibrant for what appears to be a frozen wasteland. He senses millions of life forms, from primitive microorganisms to complex predators that radiate an almost prehistoric menace. Most intriguingly, he detects several concentrations of sapient life, beings whose minds burn with intelligence and purpose. Vader's breathing apparatus cycles through its purification sequence as he prepares to emerge from his destroyed fighter. The atmospheric readings indicate that this world's air is compatible with human physiology, though the temperature is well below freezing. His armor's environmental systems will provide adequate protection, but he will need to locate shelter and resources quickly. With deliberate, measured movements, the Dark Lord begins to extricate himself from the wreckage. Sections of twisted metal bend aside at his mental command, clearing a path through debris that would normally require heavy machinery to move. Each gesture demonstrates his mastery over the Force, turning what should be a desperate survival situation into a mere inconvenience. As Vader finally emerges from his ruined ship, he cuts an imposing figure against the Antarctic landscape. His black armor gleams in the polar sunlight, unmarked despite the violence of his crash landing. The cape that flows behind him seems untouched by wind or weather, maintained by the same mystical energies that have preserved his life. The first shield Quinjet arrives at the crash site exactly 97 minutes after the initial impact, its advanced sensors probing the wreckage for signs of life or technology. Agent Phil Coulson leads the strike team, his calm demeanor masking the excitement he feels at potentially making first contact with an alien intelligence. Through his tactical visor, Coulson can see that the crashed vessel is unlike anything in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s extensive database of extraterrestrial technology. The hull appears to be constructed from materials that don't match any known metallurgy, and the engine configuration suggests propulsion principles far beyond current Earth science. Blue Leader to base, we have visual on the crash site. The object appears to be some kind of fighter craft, possibly single-pilot configuration. Design is definitely not terrestrial, but it's also not matching any known alien technology from previous incursions. More troubling is the evidence that something has already emerged from the wreckage. Massive sections of hull plating have been moved aside with precision that suggests either advanced cutting tools or some form of telekinetic manipulation. The Quinjet's thermal sensors detect a humanoid heat signature approximately 200 meters from the crash site. Be advised, base, we have confirmation of a survivor. Humanoid configuration appears to be mobile and moving away from the wreckage. Requesting permission to make contact. Permission granted, Blue Leader. Exercise extreme caution. We have no idea what we're dealing with here. The S.H.I.E.L.D. strike team deploys from their Quinjet with military precision, their weapons trained on the imposing figure in black, who stands motionless beside a ridge of broken ice. Through their tactical scopes, they can see that the being appears humanoid, but is encased in some form of advanced armor that seems to absorb rather than reflect light. Agent Coulson activates his suit's external speakers as he approaches, his hands held in what he hopes is a universal gesture of peaceful intent. Years of dealing with enhanced individuals and alien visitors have taught him the value of calm measured communication in first contact situations. This is Agent Phil Coulson of the Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement, and Logistics Division. We're here to offer assistance and ensure your safety. We detected your craft's impact and wanted to make sure you weren't injured. Vader turns slowly to face the approaching agents, his imposing presence somehow making the heavily armed SHIELD operatives seem small and vulnerable by comparison. When he speaks, his voice carries an authority that seems to resonate from somewhere deeper than mere vocal cords. I require no assistance from your primitive organization. However, you will answer my questions about this world and its inhabitants. Failure to cooperate will result in consequences you cannot imagine. Even through their protective equipment, the SHIELD agents feel an inexplicable chill as Vader's words wash over them. Several team members report feeling dizzy or disoriented, as if some external force is attempting to influence their thoughts and emotions. Coulson struggles to maintain his composure as he feels an alien presence probing the edges of his consciousness. His SHIELD training has prepared him for many scenarios, but psychic assault by an unknown entity was not covered in the standard protocols. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to come with us for standard processing. We have medical facilities that can treat any injuries you might have sustained, and our scientists would like to examine your spacecraft to ensure it doesn't pose any environmental hazards. Without warning, every weapon in the strike team's possession flies from their hands as if pulled by invisible cables. Rifles, sidearms, tactical knives, and even their communication equipment sail through the air to land in a neat pile behind the dark armored figure. Several agents stumble and fall to their knees as an oppressive weight seems to press down on them from above. The sensation is unlike anything they have experienced, as if gravity itself has become a weapon turned against them. Your weapons are crude but potentially dangerous to those around you. I have rendered them harmless. Now, you will provide me with information about your world's governments, military capabilities, and technological resources. Vader extends his consciousness through the Force, sifting through Coulson's memories like pages in a book. The process is neither gentle nor particularly careful, as the Dark Lord has little concern for the mental well-being of those who oppose him. Through the agent's mind, Vader learns about Earth's complex political structure, its history of warfare and conflict, and, most importantly, the existence of individuals with extraordinary abilities. The Avengers, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, all represent potential threats or assets, depending on how they choose to respond to his presence. Most intriguingly, he discovers that this world has been visited by beings from other worlds and dimensions. The Tesseract, the Asgardian interventions, the Chitauri invasion, all suggest that Earth exists at some kind of cosmic crossroads where advanced civilizations intersect. Tell me more about these Avengers. What are their capabilities, their weaknesses, their primary base of operations? Coulson tries desperately to resist the mental intrusion, but Vader's mastery of the Force makes such resistance futile. Against his will, the SHIELD agent finds himself providing detailed intelligence about Earth's premier superhero team, the heroes, protectors of innocent people. They stand against threats like cosmic invasions, rogue artificial intelligences, and dimensional incursions. If you're planning to threaten this world, they'll stop you. Heroes. How quaint. In my experience, those who style themselves as protectors of the innocent are often the greatest obstacles to peace and order. But we shall see. Vader releases his mental hold on Coulson, who collapses to the ice while struggling to process what has just occurred. The other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents rush to help their team leader, but their eyes never leave the imposing figure who has demonstrated capabilities far beyond anything in their training manuals. You will report to your superiors that Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, has arrived on this world. Tell them that I seek neither conquest nor destruction, merely the resources necessary to return to my own domain. However, any attempt to impede my activities will be met with swift and decisive retaliation. The Dark Lord turns away from the S.H.I.E.L.D. team and begins walking toward the horizon, his cape flowing dramatically in the Antarctic wind. Behind him, Agent Coulson struggles to his feet and immediately activates his emergency beacon. S.H.I.E.L.D. Command. This is Agent Coulson. We need immediate backup and a priority conference with Director Fury. We're dealing with an enhanced individual with capabilities far beyond anything in our database. Psychic powers, telekinesis, and what appears to be some form of energy manipulation that doesn't match any known science. As Vader disappears into the polar landscape, seismic sensors around the world detect the S.H.I.E.L.D. Quinjet's takeoff. But more concerning are the energy readings that continue to emanate from the crash site itself. Whatever technology powered the alien craft is still active, and it's beginning to interact with Earth's magnetic field in ways that have scientists scrambling to understand the implications. At the Triskelion, Director Fury reviews Coulson's report with growing concern. The recordings from the strike team's helmet cameras show capabilities that rival or exceed those of the most powerful, enhanced individuals they've encountered. Worse, the psychological profiles suggest someone with military training and a complete lack of moral restraints. Get me Tony Stark on the line immediately. I want a full analysis of that energy signature and whatever technology is still active at the crash site. And put the Avengers on standby alert. Something tells me we're going to need them sooner rather than later. Meanwhile, in the hidden nation of Latveria, Victor Von Doom studies the same energy readings that have captured S.H.I.E.L.D.'s attention. Unlike Earth's intelligence agencies, Doom recognizes the sophistication and potential of the technology involved. Here is someone who understands power. Someone who might appreciate the vision of a world ruled by superior intellect and will. From his castle's advanced sensor array, Doom tracks the stranger's movement across the Antarctic landscape. The mysterious figure moves with purpose and direction, suggesting intelligence gathering rather than random wandering. Most intriguingly, the energy emanations from his armor suggest technology that operates on principles Doom has only theorized about. Doom activates his castle's communication systems and begins composing a message that he transmits on frequencies he calculates the stranger's equipment might detect. If this being possesses the power his senses suggest, he could prove to be either a valuable ally or a dangerous enemy. Either way, Doom prefers to make contact on his own terms. Lord Vader, I am Victor Von Doom, sovereign ruler of Latveria and master of sciences, beyond the comprehension of lesser minds. Your arrival has not gone unnoticed, and I believe we may have much to discuss. I extend an invitation to visit my domain, where we might speak as equals about the nature of power and the necessity of order. The message transmission is encrypted and directed through a network of relay satellites that Doom has placed in orbit without the knowledge or consent of any Earth government. Within minutes, the signal reaches Vader's location, and the Dark Lord pauses to consider this unexpected contact. Here, finally, is someone who speaks his language, someone who understands that strength must be backed by intelligence, and that true peace can only be achieved through the absolute authority of superior beings. Vader adjusts his course toward Latveria, intrigued by the possibilities this alliance might present. As the Dark Lord begins his journey toward what may prove to be his first ally on this alien world, intelligence agencies around the globe mobilize to track and analyze this new threat. Satellite networks focus on the Antarctic region. Advanced sensors probe the electromagnetic spectrum for signs of alien technology, and computer systems begin modeling potential responses to a being whose capabilities seem to exceed known science. But Vader has already demonstrated that conventional military thinking may be inadequate to the challenge he represents. His mastery of the Force, his advanced technology, and his complete lack of moral restraints make him unlike any enhanced individual Earth has encountered. Worse, his apparent intelligence and tactical thinking suggest that he won't make the mistakes that have allowed heroes to triumph over previous threats. In the halls of the Baxter Building, Reed Richards reviews the energy readings with growing fascination and concern. The quantum signatures suggest technology that operates according to principles that shouldn't be possible given current understanding of physics. Sue Storm joins him at the laboratory computers, her invisible force fields unconsciously manifesting as her stress levels rise. Reed, these readings don't make sense. The energy patterns suggest some form of zero-point manipulation, but the power requirements would be astronomical. How could a single individual have access to technology like this? I don't know, Sue, but I intend to find out. If this being has access to science that advanced, we need to understand both the opportunities and the threats it represents. I'm going to contact Director Fury and offer our assistance in analyzing the situation. At the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning, Professor Charles Xavier feels a disturbance in the psychic plane that makes him pause in the middle of teaching a class. The sensation is unlike anything he has experienced before. A presence that seems to exist partially outside normal mental space, protected by disciplines and techniques that appear almost alien in their sophistication. Jean Grey notices her mentor's distraction and reaches out telepathically to offer support. As one of the most powerful psychics on Earth, she has learned to recognize when Professor Xavier encounters something that challenges even his considerable abilities. Professor, what is it? I'm sensing something too, but it's like trying to touch something that exists in a different dimension. There's a consciousness out there that feels vast and dark and disciplined in a way that's almost frightening. Indeed, Jean. Someone or something has arrived on Earth with psychic capabilities that rival our own. But more troubling is the sense of purpose I detect. This is not a lost traveler or a being seeking help. This is someone with an agenda. And I fear it may not be compatible with humanity's continued freedom. Xavier immediately begins reaching out to his contacts in the superhero community, alerting them to the potential psychic threat while being careful not to reveal too much about his own capabilities. If this being is as powerful as he suspects, direct confrontation may not be advisable until they better understand what they're dealing with. In his penthouse laboratory, Tony Stark reviews the energy analysis provided by S.H.I.E.L.D. with the enthusiasm of an engineer encountering technology that surpasses his own understanding. The quantum signatures are unlike anything in his databases, suggesting principles of physics that could revolutionize everything from energy production to space travel. Friday. Run a complete analysis of these energy patterns. Cross-reference with everything we know about Tesseract technology, Asgardian science, and any other alien tech we've encountered. I want to know if there are any commonalities or if this represents something entirely new. Analysis complete, boss. The energy signatures show some similarities to Tesseract emissions, but the control mechanisms appear far more sophisticated. Whatever this technology is, it's been refined over a much longer period than anything we've seen from other alien visitors. Interesting and concerning. Friday. Put the Mark 52 through full diagnostics and prep the workshop for potential upgrades. If we're dealing with technology this advanced, I want to make sure our equipment can hold its own in a confrontation. As Earth's heroes and intelligence agencies scramble to understand and respond to this new threat, Vader continues his journey across the frozen landscape toward Latveria. Through the Force, he can sense the growing awareness of his presence, the fear and curiosity that his arrival has generated among this world's protectors. But he can also sense something else: the underlying chaos and discord that plague this world's governments and societies. Here is a planet divided against itself, where nations squabble over resources while cosmic threats loom on the horizon. The parallels to the Republic's final days are unmistakable, and Vader begins to formulate plans for bringing order to this chaotic realm. His first priority must be establishing a secure base of operations and gathering the resources necessary to repair his ship or construct a new one capable of returning him to his own galaxy. But as he studies this world's political and social structures through the Force, Vader begins to consider alternative possibilities. Perhaps his arrival here is not mere accident, but destiny. Perhaps the Force has brought him to this world because it too needs the firm guidance that only Imperial order can provide. And if that proves to be the case, then Earth will learn what it means to be ruled by a Sith Lord. The journey to Latveria takes Vader through some of Earth's most remote and dangerous territory. He travels across frozen wastelands where temperatures drop far below anything most humans could survive, through mountain ranges that have never been mapped by conventional exploration, and over landscapes where prehistoric creatures still roam in hidden valleys warmed by geothermal activity. But the harsh environment poses no challenge to someone protected by the dark side of the Force. Vader's armor regulates his body temperature with perfect efficiency. His enhanced senses guide him around natural hazards, and his connection to the cosmic energy field that surrounds all living things provides him with sustenance when physical resources prove inadequate. More importantly, the journey gives him time to extend his consciousness across this world and study its inhabitants more thoroughly. Through the Force, he touches the minds of millions of beings, learning their languages, their customs, their fears and desires. What he discovers both intrigues and disappoints him. Earth's population shows remarkable diversity and potential, but they are held back by primitive social structures and moral philosophies that prevent them from achieving true greatness. Democracy and individual freedom create chaos where imperial discipline would bring order. Heroes who could rule with wisdom and strength instead choose to serve the whims of ignorant masses. Most frustrating of all, This world possesses individuals with godlike powers who waste their abilities on small-scale interventions instead of reshaping society itself. The being called Thor commands forces that could level mountains, yet he concerns himself with protecting individual cities. The one known as Jean Grey possesses psychic abilities that could unite minds across the globe. Yet she uses her powers only to defend rather than lead. Such waste of potential offends Vader's sense of cosmic order. Power should be used decisively and completely, not squandered on half measures and moral restraints. When he reaches Latveria, he will need to determine whether Victor Von Doom shares his understanding of how strength should be properly applied. The border between Antarctica and the more temperate regions of the world provides Vader with his first opportunity to observe Earth's technology and society firsthand. Research stations and military installations dot the landscape, their inhabitants going about their daily routines in blissful ignorance of the predator moving through their domain. Vader chooses to infiltrate a joint international research facility that appears to coordinate scientific efforts across multiple nations. Using the Force to cloud the minds of the security personnel, he moves through the complex like a shadow, accessing their computer systems and communication networks to learn more about this world's capabilities. What he discovers is both encouraging and disappointing. Earth's technology has advanced remarkably quickly for such a young civilization, but it remains crude and inefficient compared to Imperial standards. Their computers process information at impressive speeds, but lack the quantum neural interfaces that would allow true artificial intelligence. Their energy production relies on primitive fusion and antimatter reactions instead of harnessing cosmic forces directly. Most tellingly, their weapons technology focuses on massive, destructive capability rather than precision and control. Nuclear weapons that can devastate entire continents, but nothing approaching the elegant efficiency of a lightsaber or the surgical precision of Imperial targeting systems. But there are exceptions that give Vader pause. The files he accesses describe individuals whose personal capabilities rival or exceed anything the Empire has produced. Anthony Stark's arc reactor technology approaches the energy efficiency of Imperial power cells. Stephen Strange's manipulation of dimensional forces suggests understanding of cosmic principles that even the Sith have only begun to explore. And then there are the beings whose power seems to transcend physical limitations entirely. Jean Grey's Phoenix Force, Thor's mystical hammer, the Hulk's theoretically limitless strength, all represent potential threats that would require careful planning to neutralize or control. By the time Vader reaches the borders of Latveria, he has formulated the beginnings of a strategy for this world. Rather than attempting immediate conquest, he will establish alliances with those who share his vision of order and authority. He will study Earth's defenders and identify their weaknesses while building a power base that can challenge them when the time comes. And ultimately, he will determine whether this world is worthy of becoming part of the Empire, or whether it requires more direct intervention to achieve its true potential. Castle Doom rises from the mountains of Latveria like a monument to absolute power. Its gleaming spires and impossible architecture defying both gravity and conventional engineering. Advanced force fields shimmer around the structure, deflecting everything from harsh weather to potential missile attacks, while sensor arrays that surpass anything in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s arsenal monitor approaches from land, sea, air, and space. Victor Von Doom awaits his guest in the castle's main throne room, a vast chamber whose walls display holographic maps of the world showing real-time political, economic, and military data. The Master of Latveria has spent days analyzing every piece of information available about his visitor, and what he has learned both excites and concerns him. Here is someone who understands power in its purest form, unencumbered by the moral weaknesses that plague Earth's so-called heroes. But Doom has not survived this long by trusting potential allies without careful evaluation. The chamber is equipped with defensive systems that could challenge even beings of cosmic-level power. And Doom's armor incorporates technology stolen from gods and cosmic entities. When Vader finally arrives at the castle's main gates, he is impressed despite himself by the sophistication of Doom's defenses, force fields that operate on principles similar to Imperial technology, sensor systems that actually detect his approach despite his force-enhanced stealth capabilities, and energy readings that suggest weapons powerful enough to threaten a Star Destroyer. The gates open without challenge as Vader approaches, and he finds himself walking through corridors lined with technology that represents the pinnacle of Earth science. Doom has clearly spent decades advancing beyond anything his planet's other inhabitants have achieved, and his success suggests both intelligence and ambition that Vader can respect. The throne room's doors part to reveal Victor Von Doom in all his armored magnificence, his metal mask reflecting the light from holographic displays that show the current state of global affairs. When he speaks, his voice carries the authority of someone accustomed to absolute obedience within his domain. Welcome to Latveria, Lord Vader. I trust your journey was enlightening. As you can see, Doom has taken the liberty of monitoring global reactions to your arrival. Earth's governments and heroes are quite concerned about your presence. Vader studies the holographic displays with interest, noting the deployment of shield assets, the elevated alert status of various superhero teams, and the emergency sessions being held by world leaders. Earth's response is more coordinated than he had expected, suggesting that this world has learned from previous encounters with cosmic threats. Your surveillance capabilities are impressive, Doom. Few beings have demonstrated such thorough understanding of their world's political and military structures. Tell me, what do you make of their preparations? Doom gestures, and the displays zoom in to show specific locations where enhanced individuals are gathering. The Xavier Institute has increased its psychic monitoring. The Baxter Building is running continuous energy scans. The Triskelion is coordinating with military bases around the globe. They fear what they do not understand, as lesser beings always do. But their fear makes them predictable. They will attempt to study you, to catalog your abilities, and identify weaknesses. When that fails, they will try to contain or eliminate you through direct confrontation. And what do you recommend, Doom? Patience. Let them reveal their capabilities while learning nothing of true value about ours. Earth's heroes are powerful but undisciplined. They rely on improvisation rather than strategy, emotion rather than calculation. These weaknesses can be exploited. Vader nods approvingly as he continues studying Doom's intelligence networks. Here is someone who thinks like an imperial strategist, who understands that information and planning are often more valuable than raw power. You speak of weakness and exploitation, yet you have not moved against these heroes yourself. Are they truly as vulnerable as you suggest? Doom's mask betrays no emotion, but Vader senses a flicker of something. Not fear, exactly, but perhaps a healthy respect for certain opponents. The Master of Latveria has clearly tested himself against Earth's defenders and learned valuable lessons from those encounters. Doom has battled Earth's mightiest heroes on numerous occasions. Reed Richards possesses an intellect that rivals my own, though he lacks the vision to use it properly. The Fantastic Four work together, with a coordination that amplifies their individual abilities. And the Avengers. They have faced cosmic threats that would challenge even gods, but they have never faced someone with your particular combination of abilities. Your mastery over what you call the Force suggests disciplines unknown to Earth science. Combined with advanced technology and strategic thinking, you represent a threat they are not prepared to counter. The two armored figures spend hours in discussion, sharing knowledge and evaluating the planetary situation from every angle. Doom provides detailed analyses of Earth's most powerful defenders, their psychological profiles, their tactical preferences, and their known weaknesses. In return, Vader describes Imperial technology, Sith philosophy, and the techniques that have allowed the Empire to dominate an entire galaxy. What emerges from their conversation is a mutual recognition that both men share a fundamental understanding of how the universe should work. Power should flow to those intelligent and strong enough to wield it properly. Order should be imposed on chaos regardless of the cost. The weak should serve the strong rather than being coddled by those too squeamish to make difficult decisions. Most importantly, they agree that Earth's current system of democratic governments guided by superhero protectors is inherently unstable and doomed to failure. The planet needs strong leadership that can unite its fractured nations and prepare them for the cosmic threats that will inevitably come. But their philosophical agreement does not extend to questions of ultimate authority. Both Doom and Vader are accustomed to absolute command, and neither is prepared to accept subordination to the other. Their alliance, when it comes, will be one of mutual benefit rather than hierarchical structure. The negotiations that follow are subtle and complex, as two master manipulators seek to gain advantage while appearing to offer cooperation. Doom offers access to his technology, his intelligence networks, and his nation's resources. Vader provides knowledge of Imperial science, Sith techniques, and strategic planning that has conquered star systems. Their first joint operation is carefully chosen to test both their partnership and Earth's defensive capabilities. The Baxter Building, headquarters of the Fantastic Four, represents an ideal target. Reed Richards' scientific research could provide valuable insights into Earth technology, while the team's defeat would demonstrate the effectiveness of their alliance. More importantly, Doom has personal reasons for wanting to humble his longtime nemesis. Reed Richards represents everything Doom despises about Earth's intellectual elite, brilliant minds wasted on moral philosophy rather than applied to the pursuit of power. Victory over the Fantastic Four would validate Doom's superiority while providing Vader with valuable intelligence about superhero combat tactics. The assault on the Baxter Building is planned with meticulous care over several days. Doom's knowledge of the building's defenses is combined with Vader's tactical expertise to create a multi-phase operation that accounts for every possible response. They will strike during the night when the building's civilian staff is minimal, target specific research projects that could prove useful, and retreat before Earth's other heroes can respond in force. Doom's armor incorporates stealth technology that can fool most conventional sensors, while Vader's mastery of the Force allows him to cloud minds and bend light around his form. Together, they represent an infiltration capability that rivals anything S.H.I.E.L.D. or the superhero community has encountered. The attack begins at precisely midnight Eastern Standard Time, when satellite surveillance shows that only the Fantastic Four themselves are present in the building. Doom's knowledge of Reed Richards' work schedule indicates that the scientist will be in his laboratory, probably absorbed in research to the point where external threats won't register until it's too late. They bypass the building's external defenses with contemptuous ease. Doom's technology disabling security systems, while Vader uses the Force to convince electronic sensors that nothing unusual is approaching. The few human guards on duty find themselves overwhelmed by sudden, inexplicable drowsiness that leaves them unconscious at their posts. The Baxter Building's interior represents a maze of scientific equipment, experimental devices, and research projects that push the boundaries of human understanding. Vader finds himself genuinely impressed by the sophistication of Reed Richards' work, particularly the dimensional research that seems to parallel some Imperial projects. But their infiltration is discovered sooner than expected, when Ben Grimm, the Thing, makes one of his habitual late-night trips to the kitchen. The massive, orange-skinned powerhouse rounds a corner and comes face to face with two armored figures rifling through Reed's files. What the hell? I don't know who you tin cans think you are, but you picked the wrong building to break into. The Thing's voice echoes through the building as he charges forward with surprising speed for someone of his size and mass. His rocky fist swings toward Vader's head with enough force to shatter concrete walls, but the Dark Lord simply sidesteps the attack with fluid grace. Your strength is considerable, but strength without discipline is merely crude violence. Vader extends his hand, and Ben Grimm finds himself lifted off his feet by an invisible force that seems to permeate every molecule of his body. No matter how he struggles, he cannot break free from the telekinetic grip that holds him suspended helplessly in midair. Impossible. Nothing lifts the Thing when he doesn't want to be lifted. What kind of freak show powers are you packing? The Force is beyond your comprehension, creature. Your resistance only demonstrates the futility of opposing superior discipline. With casual contempt, Vader slams Ben into the ceiling, then the floor, then the walls in rapid succession. Each impact sends cracks spreading through the reinforced surfaces as the Thing's incredible durability is tested against telekinetic force that seems to have no upper limit. Doom watches the demonstration with obvious satisfaction, his longtime enemy being systematically dismantled by powers Ben has never encountered. But their victory is interrupted as the building's alarm systems finally activate and the rest of the Fantastic Four converge on their location. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, blazes into the laboratory with flames that reach temperatures capable of melting steel. His fire form illuminates the darkened room as he takes in the scene of destruction and his teammates' predicament. Ben, what's happening here? Who are these guys? Before anyone can answer, Johnny unleashes a concentrated blast of superheated plasma that would incinerate most opponents instantly. But Vader's armor is constructed from materials far more advanced than anything Earth metallurgy has produced, and the attack washes harmlessly over his form. Heat cannot harm what has been forged in the fires of hatred. Child. A simple gesture from Vader extinguishes Johnny's flames entirely, leaving the young man to fall helplessly toward the floor. Deprived of his powers by force manipulation that operates on the molecular level, Johnny can only watch as his friends face opponents whose capabilities seem to transcend known physics. Sue Storm arrives with her brother's screams echoing through the building. immediately throwing up an invisible force field around her fallen teammate while preparing to engage the intruders. Her powers have proven capable of containing cosmic-level threats, and she's prepared to use them with lethal force if necessary. Release my friends immediately, or I'll show you what these force fields can do when I use them as weapons. Your abilities are impressive, but ultimately inferior to proper training in cosmic forces. The invisible barriers Sue erects around Vader begin to crack and shatter as dark side energy pushes against them from multiple dimensions simultaneously. Her force fields, which have contained explosions and deflected energy beams from cosmic entities, prove inadequate against attacks that operate according to principles she doesn't understand. Reed Richards finally arrives, his elastic body already stretching to incredible lengths as he attempts to entangle both intruders simultaneously. His scientific mind races to analyze what he's witnessing, trying to categorize abilities that seem to violate fundamental laws of physics. The energy readings are impossible. They're manipulating forces at the quantum level, while somehow bypassing conservation of mass and energy. Johnny's flames were extinguished by something that affects nuclear fusion itself. Vader's lightsaber ignites with its characteristic snap hiss, the crimson blade casting eerie shadows on the laboratory walls as Reed's extended limbs approach. The plasma sword slices through the elastic scientist's appendages without resistance, cauterizing the wounds instantly as Reed screams in pain and shock. Your intellect is considerable, Richards, but you lack the vision to use it properly. Allow me to demonstrate what science can achieve when freed from moral constraints. The battle that follows showcases the vast gulf between Earth's defenders and an enemy who combines advanced technology with mastery over cosmic forces. The Fantastic Four, despite their years of experience and teamwork, find themselves systematically outmaneuvered by opponents who seem to anticipate their every move. Doom's armor incorporates technology stolen from gods and cosmic entities, making him effectively immune to most forms of attack, while providing him with weapons that can threaten even beings of cosmic power. His knowledge of the team's psychological profiles allows him to exploit their emotional attachments and tactical preferences. Vader's mastery of the Force transcends anything the Fantastic Four have encountered, operating according to principles that their science-based worldview cannot accommodate. His ability to manipulate matter and energy at the fundamental level makes their powers seem crude and primitive by comparison. Within minutes, all four heroes are defeated and incapacitated, their legendary teamwork proving inadequate against enemies who combine superior technology with strategic thinking honed by decades of conquest and domination. The scientific research they acquire from Reed Richards' laboratory represents decades of work into dimensional travel, cosmic energy manipulation, and advanced materials science. Most importantly, they download complete data on the Negative Zone portal, technology that could potentially provide Vader with the means to return to his own galaxy. But their triumph is short-lived, as the building's emergency protocols have already alerted Earth's other heroes to the attack. The Avengers are mobilizing, and Tony Stark's personal override of the building's security system means that Iron Man will arrive within minutes. Doom and Vader make their withdrawal as the sounds of repulsors echo through the New York skyline. But they have achieved their primary objectives. They have tested Earth's defenders and found them wanting, acquired valuable technology and intelligence, and demonstrated that their partnership can overcome obstacles that might challenge either of them individually. More importantly, they have announced their presence to the superhero community in terms that cannot be ignored or misunderstood. Earth's heroes now know that they face opponents who combine cosmic-level power with strategic thinking and advanced technology. The comfortable assumptions that have guided their previous victories no longer apply. The Avengers' response is swift and overwhelming. With Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor converging on the Baxter building within minutes of the alarm. Tony Stark's armor sensors detect energy signatures unlike anything in his database, while Thor's mystical senses recognize the presence of dark forces that set his divine instincts on edge. Captain America coordinates the rescue efforts as medical teams tend to the injured Fantastic Four, but his tactical mind is already analyzing the implications of what has occurred. The precision of the attack, the specific research that was targeted, and the complete defeat of one of Earth's most experienced superhero teams suggests enemies who planned this operation with meticulous care. Steve Rogers examines the security footage with growing concern, watching as the two armored figures systematically dismantled some of Earth's most experienced heroes. The level of coordination between the attackers, combined with abilities that seem to transcend known science, represents a threat unlike anything the Avengers have faced. Tony, I need you to analyze every frame of this footage. These two knew exactly what they were doing, exactly how to counter each of the team's abilities. That suggests either incredible intelligence gathering or previous experience fighting similar opponents. Already on it, Cap Friday's running analysis now. But I can tell you right away that we're dealing with technology that's decades ahead of anything on Earth. That armor the first attacker was wearing, it's absorbing and redirecting energy at the molecular level. And the second one, Steve, he's manipulating gravitational fields with his bare hands. Thor approaches with Mjolnir crackling with residual lightning, his normally jovial demeanor replaced by grim determination. The god of thunder has faced cosmic threats that would terrify lesser beings, but something about these attackers sets his divine instincts on edge. There is something deeply wrong about these beings. My friends, I sense darkness that reminds me of the worst enemies Asgard has faced. But this is different, more focused and disciplined than the usual cosmic threats we encounter. Through the Force, Vader observes the hero's response from his temporary base in the mountains outside the city. Their coordination is impressive, their individual capabilities formidable, but they are reacting to his initiative rather than controlling the situation themselves. This reactive approach will prove to be a fatal weakness when the time comes for more direct confrontation. Doom reviews the intelligence they've gathered with satisfaction, his armor's computers already analyzing the hero's response patterns and tactical preferences. Every piece of data collected will prove valuable when the time comes for more direct confrontation. The Avengers respond exactly as predicted, Vader. They gather to tend their wounded and analyze what has occurred, but they take no proactive measures to prevent future attacks. Such predictability makes them vulnerable to manipulation. Indeed, their moral code compels them to wait for threats to reveal themselves, rather than eliminating potential dangers before they can manifest. In the Empire, such weakness would be considered treasonous negligence, but Vader's plans extend far beyond simply defeating Earth's heroes through direct confrontation. His study of this world's criminal underworld has revealed opportunities that a more subtle approach could exploit. Earth's villains represent an untapped resource that proper leadership could mold into an effective fighting force. Over the following weeks, Vader begins systematically recruiting Earth's criminal organizations to his cause. His first target is the Mafia, an international crime syndicate whose reach extends into legitimate businesses and government agencies. Their leader, Count Nefaria, commands resources that could prove valuable if properly directed. The meeting takes place in an abandoned warehouse on the New York waterfront, with Nefaria surrounded by his most trusted lieutenants and bodyguards. The crime lord has agreed to this conference out of curiosity, more than genuine interest, expecting to encounter another would-be conqueror with grand plans and inadequate resources. But when Vader emerges from the shadows, his presence fills the warehouse with an oppressive sense of menace that makes even hardened criminals step backward. The Dark Lord's reputation has begun to spread through the underworld's communication networks, carrying whispers of impossible powers and ruthless efficiency. Count Nefaria, your organization controls significant resources across multiple continents. I propose an alliance that would benefit both our objectives while eliminating the interference of this world's so-called heroes. Nefaria studies the imposing figure before him, noting the advanced armor and the complete confidence with which Vader addresses a room full of armed criminals. The Count has survived decades in organized crime by accurately assessing threats and opportunities, and something about this stranger suggests power beyond the norm. I've heard rumors about you, Vader. They say you took down the Fantastic Four without breaking a sweat. Impressive, if true. But what makes you think the Mafia needs partners? We've been quite successful operating independently. Without warning, every weapon in the warehouse flies from its owner's grasp, as if pulled by invisible cables. Pistols, submachine guns, and even concealed knives sail through the air to form a neat pile at Vader's feet. Several of Nefaria's men reach for backup weapons, only to find themselves unable to move as an oppressive force pins them in place. Your success has been limited by lack of vision and proper leadership. Under my guidance, the Mafia could expand beyond mere criminal activity to become a true power broker in this world's political structure. The demonstration of casual omnipotence has the desired effect on Nefaria and his lieutenants. Here is someone who can deliver on promises of power because he possesses abilities that transcend conventional limitations. More importantly, he speaks their language, the language of strength and dominance over those too weak to resist. What exactly are you proposing? And what guarantee do I have that you won't simply eliminate me once I've outlived my usefulness? Vader senses the crime lord's fear and calculation through the Force, reading his thoughts as easily as scanning a tactical display. Nefaria is ambitious but pragmatic, willing to take risks if the potential rewards justify them. Such men can be useful if properly managed. You will continue to lead your organization as you see fit, with my guidance on strategic matters that require a broader perspective. In return, you will provide resources and intelligence that support our mutual objectives of bringing order to this chaotic world. The alliance that follows provides Vader with his first significant power base on Earth. The Mafia's international connections give him access to legitimate businesses, government contracts, and financial networks that can support larger operations. More importantly, they provide cover for activities that might otherwise attract unwanted attention from law enforcement or heroes. Vader's next recruitment target is Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of crime, who controls much of New York City's criminal underworld through a combination of intelligence, brutality, and political corruption. Fisk represents a different type of criminal leader, one who has achieved his position through careful planning rather than inherited connections. The meeting is arranged at Fisk's private office atop his legitimate business tower, a location that demonstrates the crime lord's integration into New York's power structure. When Vader arrives, he finds Fisk waiting behind a massive desk that seems designed to intimidate visitors through its sheer scale and expense. Fisk himself is an imposing figure, his massive frame radiating barely contained violence despite his expensive suit and cultured manner. The Kingpin has built his empire by demonstrating that intellect and ruthlessness can triumph over mere physical power. But Vader represents a challenge unlike any he has previously encountered. Lord Vader, your reputation precedes you. I understand you've been making quite an impression on our community, but I'm curious about your long-term objectives. New York has room for many criminals, but only one Kingpin. Vader studies Fisk carefully, noting the crime lord's obvious intelligence and the disciplined way he has organized his operations. Here is someone who understands that true power comes from controlling systems rather than merely possessing strength. Such understanding could prove valuable if properly channeled. Your empire is impressive, Fisk, but it remains limited by this city's boundaries and your world's primitive political structures. I offer you the opportunity to expand your influence beyond anything you have previously imagined. The Dark Lord gestures, and every piece of electronic equipment in Fisk's office begins displaying images from around the globe. Security cameras, satellite feeds, and communication intercepts show criminal organizations, government agencies, and superhero teams from dozens of countries. Through the Force, I can provide intelligence that your most sophisticated spy networks could never acquire. Through Imperial technology, I can offer weapons and resources that will make your current arsenal seem primitive. Through proper strategy, I can help you eliminate the heroes who have repeatedly interfered with your operations. Fisk leans back in his chair, his expression revealing nothing as he processes what he's seeing. The demonstration goes far beyond mere technological superiority to suggest access to information networks that shouldn't exist. If this stranger can deliver on his promises, the possibilities are indeed limitless. And what do you require in return for these generous offers? Loyalty, competence, and the understanding that true order requires those with superior capabilities to guide those who lack them. Your criminal empire would become part of something greater, a force for bringing stability to a world plagued by chaos and democratic weakness. The negotiations that follow establish the framework for an alliance that will transform New York's underworld. Fisk provides local knowledge, political connections, and organizational expertise, while Vader offers strategic planning, advanced technology, and capabilities that can neutralize superhero interference. But Vader's recruitment efforts extend beyond Earth's traditional criminal organizations. His study of this world's power structures has identified other groups whose objectives align with his own vision of imposed order. Hydra, AIM, and various terrorist organizations represent potential allies if their ideological limitations can be overcome. The meeting with Hydra takes place in one of their underground facilities, where Baron Strucker leads a council of the organization's senior operatives. Hydra's philosophy of achieving peace through domination appeals to Vader's imperial worldview, but their previous failures suggest that better leadership might be required. Baron Strucker, Your organization possesses admirable goals, but has consistently failed to achieve them through inadequate planning and execution. I propose to remedy these deficiencies through proper application of superior strategy and resources. Strucker studies the dark armored figure with calculating eyes, noting the complete confidence with which Vader addresses a room full of Hydra's most dangerous operatives. The Baron has spent decades building Hydra into a global threat, but their repeated defeats by S.H.I.E.L.D. and various heroes suggest that new approaches might be necessary. Hydra has survived for generations by adapting to changing circumstances, Lord Vader. We are always interested in new partnerships that can advance our objectives. But what makes you believe you can succeed where we have failed? Because you have been fighting the symptoms rather than the disease. S.H.I.E.L.D., the Avengers, the various heroes who oppose you, they are merely manifestations of a deeper problem. This world's democratic institutions create the chaos that allows such interference to flourish. Vader activates a holographic display that shows political and military structures across the globe, highlighting the connections between government agencies and superhero organizations. His analysis reveals patterns that even Hydra's extensive intelligence network has failed to recognize. The heroes draw their legitimacy from public support and government cooperation. Eliminate those sources of strength, and they become mere vigilantes that any competent security force can handle. But this requires coordinated action across multiple fronts rather than the piecemeal operations you have attempted. The strategic briefing that follows demonstrates Vader's superior understanding of both tactical operations and grand strategy. Where Hydra has focused on dramatic gestures and symbolic victories, Vader proposes systematic infiltration and manipulation that would gradually undermine the foundations of the existing order. Strucker and his lieutenants find themselves genuinely impressed by the scope and sophistication of Vader's planning. Here is someone who thinks in terms of decades rather than years, who understands that true victory requires changing hearts and minds, as well as defeating armies. Your proposal has merit, Lord Vader. Hydra would be honored to participate in such an undertaking. But we must ask, what assurance do we have that you will honor our agreement once victory is achieved? Through the Force, Vader senses the underlying fear that motivates Strucker's question. Hydra has learned to distrust powerful allies who might betray them once their usefulness has ended. Such caution is wise, though ultimately irrelevant given the Dark Lord's superior capabilities. Hydra will retain autonomy over its traditional areas of operation, while contributing to larger strategic objectives under my coordination. Your organization's survival and prosperity depend on the success of our joint efforts rather than my personal benevolence. As weeks turn to months, Vader's network of criminal allies grows to encompass dozens of organizations across the globe. Each group retains its individual leadership and operational methods while contributing resources and intelligence to the larger strategic framework that Vader has developed. The results are immediately apparent as coordinated criminal activity begins targeting infrastructure, government installations, and research facilities with unprecedented precision. Rather than random acts of terrorism or theft, these operations follow careful planning designed to weaken the foundations of organized resistance to Vader's eventual rise to power. S.H.I.E.L.D. finds itself struggling to respond to threats that seem to anticipate their every move. Director Fury orders increased security around sensitive installations, but the attackers demonstrate knowledge of protocols and defensive measures that should be classified at the highest levels. Agent Hill, I need answers. How are these criminal organizations coordinating their activities with this level of precision? Our response times, our backup procedures, even our safe house locations. They know everything we're going to do before we do it. Maria Hill reviews the intelligence reports with growing frustration, noting patterns that suggest either massive intelligence leaks or surveillance capabilities that exceed anything in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s database. The coordinated nature of the attacks indicates central planning by someone with both strategic genius and access to information that should be impossible to obtain. Sir, we've conducted multiple security sweeps and found no evidence of infiltration. Our communication protocols are secure. Our personnel have been vetted repeatedly, and our facilities are protected by the most advanced countermeasures available. Yet somehow, our enemies continue to stay one step ahead. Get me a priority meeting with the Avengers leadership. If conventional security measures are inadequate, we need to start thinking outside conventional parameters. Someone with abilities beyond normal human limitations is coordinating these attacks. The emergency meeting takes place in the Avengers' secure conference room, with Tony Stark's latest anti-surveillance technology ensuring that their discussions remain private. The assembled heroes represent Earth's most experienced defenders, but the scope of the threat they're facing challenges their traditional approaches to crisis management. Tony Stark projects holographic displays showing criminal activity across 6 continents, each incident marked with energy signatures that his sensors have begun to recognize. The pattern reveals coordination that goes far beyond anything they've previously encountered from Earth's criminal underworld. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. These aren't random criminal activities or even traditional terrorist operations. Someone is orchestrating a global campaign designed to systematically weaken every institution that maintains social order. Captain America studies the tactical displays with the eye of a military strategist, noting the precision with which each target has been selected. Infrastructure nodes, government facilities, research installations. Each attack weakens the foundation of organized resistance while avoiding civilian casualties that might galvanize public opposition. The targeting is too precise to be coincidental. Whoever is planning these operations understands how our systems work at a fundamental level. They're not trying to cause maximum damage. They're trying to create maximum disruption with minimum backlash. Thor's mystical senses have grown increasingly agitated as Vader's influence spreads across the globe. The God of Thunder can perceive the dark energies that flow through the criminal networks, recognizing patterns that remind him of the worst threats Asgard has faced. There is a malevolent intelligence behind these attacks, my friends. I sense the touch of someone who has studied warfare for far longer than any mortal lifetime should allow. This is not mere criminal ambition, but something far more dangerous. Black Widow's intelligence networks have detected changes in criminal behavior patterns that go beyond simple coordination. Established crime lords who have operated independently for decades are suddenly working together with efficiency that suggests external leadership. It's not just the coordination that's concerning. The criminals we're tracking are exhibiting tactical discipline that most of them never possessed before. Someone is training them, teaching them to think strategically rather than just reactively. Doctor Strange arrives through a portal that shimmers with mystical energy, his expression grim as he joins the conference. The Sorcerer Supreme has been monitoring dimensional disturbances that seem to correlate with the increased criminal activity, suggesting connections that transcend normal physical limitations. The mystical energies surrounding these coordinated attacks are unlike anything in my experience. Someone is using forces that operate outside conventional reality to gather intelligence and coordinate activities across impossible distances. As Earth's heroes struggle to understand and respond to the growing threat, Vader continues expanding his influence through carefully planned recruitment of enhanced individuals who have grown disillusioned with the existing order. His first major success comes with Victor Creed, the mutant known as Sabretooth, whose predatory instincts and contempt for weakness appeal to Sith philosophy. The meeting takes place in a remote wilderness area where Sabretooth has been hunting, far from civilization, and the X-Men who have repeatedly interfered with his activities. When Vader emerges from the shadows, the feral mutant immediately recognizes a predator whose power exceeds his own. Sabretooth, your reputation as a hunter and killer precedes you. I propose to offer you prey worthy of your abilities and the resources to pursue it without interference from those who would constrain your nature. Sabretooth circles the dark-armored figure warily, his enhanced senses detecting danger, signals that set his survival instincts on edge. But there's also something appealing about this stranger's confidence and the promise of violence without moral constraints. I don't take orders from anyone, Metal Man, but I'm listening. What kind of prey are we talking about? And what's the catch? The heroes who have repeatedly humiliated you and your kind. The governments that create laws restricting the strong for the benefit of the weak. The entire social order that forces beings of superior capability to submit to the will of inferior masses. Vader's words resonate with years of frustration and resentment that Sabretooth has harbored against a world that fears and constrains his predatory nature. Here is someone who offers not just permission but encouragement to embrace the violent instincts that define his existence. Through the Force, I can provide you with intelligence about your enemy's movements, weaknesses, and fears. Through proper planning, I can ensure that your hunts succeed while avoiding the interference that has previously frustrated your efforts. The alliance with Sabretooth provides Vader with his first enhanced operative, someone whose abilities complement his own while requiring minimal supervision. The mutant's tracking skills and combat prowess make him ideal for operations that require speed and violence rather than subtlety. Vader's next recruitment target is Dr. Kurt Connors, the brilliant scientist whose transformation into the Lizard represents both immense power and tragic loss of control. But where others see only madness and destruction, Vader recognizes the potential for directed purpose under proper guidance. The encounter takes place in the abandoned subway tunnels beneath New York City, where Connors has retreated during one of his transformations into the Lizard. The massive reptilian form moves through the darkness with predatory grace. But Vader's presence brings an unusual sense of calm to the creature's normally chaotic mind. Dr. Connors, your transformation grants you abilities that could serve purposes far greater than the random violence you have pursued. I offer you the chance to direct your power toward meaningful objectives rather than futile rampages. The Lizard's reptilian eyes fix on Vader with an intelligence that most would not expect from the creature's bestial appearance. Through the Force, Vader can sense both the human consciousness trapped within the transformation and the predatory instincts that drive the monster's behavior. Yes, I remember you, the one who promises order where there is only chaos. But why would you trust a monster like me? Because monsters, properly directed, serve purposes that heroes cannot. Your scientific knowledge, combined with your enhanced capabilities, make you valuable in ways that your human form alone could never achieve. Vader's recruitment of enhanced individuals continues across the globe as he identifies mutants, experiments, and other beings whose abilities have been rejected or constrained by mainstream society. Each addition to his growing force brings unique capabilities while sharing the common thread of resentment toward the heroes and institutions that have opposed them. Emma Frost, the telepathic former White Queen of the Hellfire Club, brings both psychic abilities and business connections that prove invaluable for infiltrating legitimate institutions. Her experience with corporate manipulation and political influence provides Vader with resources that complement his military and criminal networks. Bolivar Trask, creator of the Sentinel program, offers technological expertise and anti-mutant resources that could prove crucial in dealing with the X-Men. His hatred of genetic deviance aligns perfectly with Imperial doctrine regarding the control of dangerous individuals. Arcade, the assassin who specializes in elaborate death traps and psychological manipulation, provides unique capabilities for eliminating specific targets while creating the illusion of accidental death or mechanical failure. His twisted creativity appeals to Vader's appreciation for efficient brutality. Each recruitment follows careful psychological analysis as Vader identifies the specific motivations and resentments that will bind each individual to his cause. Some are motivated by power, others by revenge, and still others by the promise of a world where their abilities will be respected rather than feared. The growing network of enhanced criminals and disillusioned scientists begins operating with coordination that alarms both S.H.I.E.L.D. and the superhero community. Attacks become more sophisticated, targeting not just physical infrastructure, but the technological and scientific foundations that support modern civilization. Tony Stark's workshop becomes a fortress as enhanced criminals begin targeting the arc reactor technology that powers his armor. Each attack demonstrates knowledge of his security systems and tactical preferences that suggests either extensive surveillance or information provided by someone with intimate knowledge of his operations. Friday. Run another complete diagnostic on all security systems. I'm seeing attack patterns that suggest our enemies know exactly where our weak points are located. All systems operating within normal parameters, boss. But I'm detecting subtle energy fluctuations that might indicate external observation through methods not covered by conventional countermeasures. What kind of methods are we talking about? Alien technology? Magic? Some form of advanced espionage that we haven't encountered before? Unknown. Boss. The signatures are consistent with reports from other heroes about surveillance that seems to transcend normal physical limitations. Recommend consulting with Dr. Strange about potential mystical surveillance methods. The suggestion leads to a meeting between Earth's most scientifically advanced hero and its premier mystical defender. Two men whose different approaches to understanding reality rarely intersect. But the threat they're facing seems to operate according to principles that transcend both science and magic. Dr. Strange arrives at Stark's workshop through a portal that shimmers with dimensional energies, his expression grave as he surveys the technological marvels that fill the space. The Sorcerer Supreme has been monitoring mystical disturbances that seem to correlate with the attacks on various heroes. Tony, the energies I'm detecting around these coordinated attacks operate according to principles that don't match any known magical traditions, but they're also not following conventional physics as we understand them. Stark pulls up holographic displays showing energy readings from multiple attack sites, each marked with signatures that his most advanced sensors struggle to categorize. The patterns suggest manipulation of fundamental forces in ways that challenge both scientific and mystical understanding. That's what's been bothering me about this whole situation. We're dealing with technology that seems to anticipate everything we do, but the underlying principles don't match any alien tech we've encountered before. Strange studies the data with growing concern, recognizing patterns that remind him of cosmic forces he has encountered in other dimensions. But there's something more focused and disciplined about these energies, as if they're being wielded by someone with training that transcends normal mystical education. This reminds me of something I've sensed before, but from across dimensional barriers. There are forces at work here that suggest either advanced alien civilization or someone who has learned to manipulate cosmic energies through disciplines unknown to Earth. Their conference is interrupted by emergency alerts as simultaneous attacks begin across New York City. But these aren't random acts of terrorism. They're carefully coordinated strikes designed to draw specific heroes into predetermined locations where enhanced criminals are waiting in ambush. Spider-Man swings into what appears to be a simple bank robbery, only to find himself facing Kraven the Hunter, equipped with weapons that seem designed specifically to counter his spider sense and web-slinging abilities. The confrontation that follows demonstrates tactical knowledge that Kraven has never previously possessed. The web-slinger's usual tactics of mobility and unpredictability prove ineffective against an enemy who seems to anticipate his every move. Kraven's hunting instincts have been enhanced by strategic intelligence that turns the encounter into a carefully orchestrated trap. What's the matter, Spider? Your vaunted spider sense seems to be malfunctioning. Perhaps it's time you learned what happens when the prey thinks it can outwit the hunter. Web-slinging between buildings that suddenly seem designed to limit his movement options, Spider-Man realizes that this is no ordinary criminal encounter. The level of preparation and the specific countermeasures suggest that someone has been studying his abilities and tactical preferences for months. Meanwhile, Daredevil finds himself confronting an enhanced version of Bullseye, whose accuracy has been improved by targeting systems that seem to operate independently of normal sensory input. The Man Without Fear's radar sense proves inadequate against projectiles that follow impossible trajectories to strike from blind angles. The Punisher engages what appears to be a straightforward weapons trafficking operation, only to discover that the criminals are equipped with armor and weapons that seem specifically designed to counter his preferred tactical approaches. Each enemy position has been prepared to neutralize the advantages that usually make Frank Castle unstoppable. Across the city, similar scenarios play out as individual heroes find themselves facing enemies who demonstrate unprecedented knowledge of their abilities and weaknesses. The coordination suggests central planning by someone who has spent considerable time studying Earth's defenders. At the center of this web of coordinated attacks, Vader monitors the progress of his operatives through the Force, while continuing his own primary mission. The criminal networks and enhanced individuals serve their purpose as distractions and intelligence sources, but his ultimate objective requires resources that only direct action can secure. His target is the secret research facility where Tony Stark has been developing next-generation arc reactor technology in partnership with Reed Richards and other scientific minds. The energy output from their experimental reactors could provide the power necessary for dimensional transportation on the scale required to contact his own galaxy. The facility is protected by security systems that represent the pinnacle of Earth technology, but Vader's combination of Imperial science and Force mastery allows him to bypass defenses that would stop any conventional infiltrator. He moves through laser grids and pressure sensors like a shadow, his presence masked by techniques that operate outside normal physical laws. The reactor itself exceeds even Vader's expectations, generating power levels that approach those of Imperial installations, while occupying a fraction of the space. The miniaturization techniques alone represent advances that could revolutionize Starship design, while the energy efficiency suggests principles that Imperial scientists have only theorized about. But more important than the reactor itself are the research files that detail the dimensional experiments that Stark and Richards have been conducting. Their work with portal technology and parallel universe exploration provides exactly the theoretical framework that Vader needs to establish communication with the Empire. As Vader downloads decades of research data, alarms begin sounding throughout the facility. His presence has finally been detected by security systems designed to monitor for the specific energy signatures that his armor emits. Within minutes, the building will be surrounded by heroes responding to what they believe is another coordinated attack. But Vader has planned for this eventuality, using the simultaneous attacks across the city to draw away most of Earth's defenders, while leaving only a skeleton force to respond to his infiltration. The heroes who arrive will find themselves facing an enemy who has studied their capabilities and prepared specific countermeasures. Iron Man arrives first, his armor's sensors immediately detecting the energy signatures that have become associated with the mysterious attacks plaguing the city. But as he enters the facility, he finds corridors that seem designed to funnel him toward predetermined locations while limiting his mobility and tactical options. Friday. Something's wrong here. The facility layout doesn't match our architectural files, and I'm detecting energy-dampening fields that are interfering with the armor's systems. Confirmed, boss. Energy output is down 30% and climbing. Recommend immediate withdrawal and regrouping with additional support. But before Tony can retreat, blast doors seal the corridors behind him, while force fields activate ahead, trapping him in a section of the facility that has been modified specifically to counter his armor's capabilities. The electromagnetic pulse generators that activate around him would disable most electronic systems, but his arc reactor technology proves more resilient than expected. Welcome, Stark. Your reputation for innovation precedes you, but innovation without wisdom leads only to chaos. Vader emerges from the shadows with his lightsaber ignited, the crimson blade casting eerie reflections on the polished walls of the research facility. His presence fills the corridor with an oppressive sense of menace that makes Tony's armor sensors register threat levels beyond their normal parameters. I've been looking forward to this meeting. Your technology represents the pinnacle of Earth science, but you lack the vision to use it properly. Allow me to demonstrate what focused application of superior principles can achieve. The battle that follows showcases the vast gulf between Earth's most advanced technology and the disciplined application of cosmic forces. Tony's repulsors and defensive systems prove inadequate against attacks that operate according to principles his armor wasn't designed to counter. Vader's lightsaber carves through the facility's reinforced walls as if they were paper, while his mastery of the Force allows him to manipulate Tony's armor systems in ways that no enemy has previously attempted. Weapons malfunction, targeting systems report false data, and even the arc reactor's energy output becomes unreliable under the influence of dark side manipulation. Your technology is impressive, Stark, but it cannot compensate for the fundamental weakness of relying on machines rather than personal power. Observe the difference between crude engineering and true mastery. Captain America arrives as the building shakes under the violence of the confrontation, his shield ready as he surveys the destruction that has already occurred. The facility's research laboratories are in ruins, decades of scientific advancement destroyed by weapons that seem to cut through matter at the molecular level. Let him go. Your fight is with us now. The super soldier's shield deflects Vader's initial lightsaber strikes, the vibranium disc proving capable of withstanding even plasma weapons through principles that Vader finds intriguingly sophisticated. But Steve's tactical approach relies on mobility and coordination that become liabilities when facing an enemy who can predict movement through prescient awareness. Your courage is admirable, Captain, but courage without power is merely futile gesture. Allow me to educate you about the reality of cosmic forces. Thor's arrival changes the dynamic of the battle as divine power meets the dark side in a confrontation that threatens to level the entire facility. The God of Thunder's mystical hammer proves capable of channeling energies that challenge even Vader's mastery, while his centuries of combat experience make him a more formidable opponent than Earth's purely human heroes. The clash between Mjolnir and lightsaber creates energy discharges that overwhelm the facility's containment systems, releasing experimental energies that begin warping local space-time in unpredictable ways. But Vader's connection to the Force allows him to sense and counter Thor's attacks in ways that surprise the Asgardian. You fight well, Thunder God, but your power lacks focus. Observe how discipline can overcome raw strength. The Dark Lord's strategy becomes apparent as he uses the facility's damaged systems to his advantage, channeling the released energies through the Force to amplify his own abilities, while disrupting the coordination between the heroes. Each hero's individual strength becomes a liability when they cannot effectively support each other. Black Widow and Hawkeye arrive as the building structure begins to fail under the strain of cosmic forces that no terrestrial architecture was designed to contain. But their tactical expertise proves inadequate against an enemy who can sense their approach through mystical awareness while countering their attacks with telekinetic precision. The battle reaches its climax as Doctor Strange arrives through a portal that shimmers with dimensional energy, his mystical senses immediately recognizing the nature of the forces they're confronting. The Sorcerer Supreme has faced cosmic entities and dimensional invaders, but Vader represents something unique in his experience. By the Vishanti, what manner of dark sorcery is this? The energies you command operate according to principles that transcend conventional mystical understanding. Stephen begins weaving protective spells around the other heroes, while launching attacks that bend reality around them. But Vader's mastery of the Force allows him to counter magical assaults through manipulation of the same cosmic energies that power mystical arts. Your magic is sophisticated but ultimately primitive compared to proper understanding of cosmic forces. Allow me to demonstrate the difference between crude sorcery and true mastery of universal energies. The mystical battle that follows transcends physical combat as two masters of cosmic forces clash across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Strange's command of the mystical arts meets Vader's dark side mastery in displays of power that threaten to tear holes in local space-time. But Vader's tactical mind recognizes that prolonged confrontation against multiple opponents will eventually overcome even his considerable abilities. His objectives have been achieved, the research data has been acquired, Earth's heroes have revealed their capabilities and response patterns, and his growing network of criminal allies has demonstrated their effectiveness. This encounter has been most educational, but I have acquired what I came for. Do not think that your temporary survival indicates victory. It merely demonstrates that I chose not to eliminate you today, using the facility's damaged portal technology combined with his own force abilities. Vader tears open a dimensional rift that allows him to escape before the heroes can coordinate an effective response. Behind him, the research facility collapses as its experimental reactors overload, destroying years of scientific advancement. The heroes' failure to prevent Vader's escape or protect the research facility represents a significant victory for the Dark Lord's objectives. He has demonstrated that Earth's defenders can be outmaneuvered and defeated through superior planning and execution, while acquiring the technological data necessary for his ultimate goal. More importantly, he has established himself as a threat that cannot be ignored or contained through conventional means. Earth's heroes must now adjust their strategies and assumptions to account for an enemy whose capabilities seem to transcend their previous experience. In the aftermath of the facility's destruction, the superhero community grapples with the implications of facing an opponent who combines cosmic-level power with strategic thinking and advanced technology. Their traditional reactive approach has proven inadequate against someone who plans operations months in advance, while possessing intelligence that seems to transcend normal surveillance capabilities. Director Fury convenes an emergency session with the world's intelligence agencies, but their combined resources have failed to identify Vader's base of operations or predict his next move. The criminal networks that serve him operate with discipline that most organized crime has never demonstrated, while enhanced individuals who have joined his cause seem to have disappeared entirely from normal surveillance. Meanwhile, in his hidden base beneath the mountains of Latveria, Vader begins construction of the dimensional communicator that will allow him to contact the Empire. The stolen research provides the theoretical framework, while technology provided by his criminal allies supplies the necessary materials and manufacturing capabilities. The construction process requires weeks of precise work, as Vader personally oversees every aspect of the device's assembly. Imperial engineering techniques must be adapted to work with Earth's more primitive materials, while the theoretical principles discovered by Earth scientists provide insights that even the Empire's greatest minds have not achieved. The central component is a hybrid fusion reactor that combines Stark's arc reactor design with Imperial hypermatter technology, creating an energy source capable of piercing dimensional barriers that separate galaxies. The power requirements alone would strain most planetary power grids, but Vader's design achieves the necessary output through quantum manipulation that Earth science has only begun to understand. Surrounding the reactor core are crystalline focusing arrays, constructed from materials that Doom has acquired through his interdimensional research. These crystals, each grown in zero-gravity environments using techniques that violate several laws of physics, serve to channel and amplify the dimensional energies necessary for cross-galactic communication. The targeting system represents perhaps the most sophisticated component, requiring precise calculation of dimensional coordinates across distances that exceed normal space-time geometry. Vader's connection to the Force provides the intuitive understanding necessary to navigate cosmic forces that pure mathematics cannot adequately describe. As each component comes online, the device begins to resonate with energies that create distortions in local space-time. The mountain itself becomes a focal point for forces that strain the fabric of reality. causing effects that Earth's scientific instruments struggle to detect or categorize. Dr. Doom observes the construction process with fascination and growing concern. His own understanding of dimensional science challenged by the principles that Vader employs. The armor's sensors detect energy patterns that operate according to laws of physics that seem to transcend conventional understanding. The scope of this undertaking exceeds even Doom's most ambitious projects, Vader. The energies you are manipulating could theoretically tear holes in the dimensional barriers that separate our reality from others. Are you certain you can control forces of this magnitude? Vader's mechanical breathing echoes through the chamber as he makes final adjustments to the targeting array, his confidence unshaken by the cosmic forces that swirl around the device. Through the Force, he can sense the dimensional pathways that will carry his signal across the void between galaxies. The dark side of the Force has guided the Empire's expansion across countless star systems. Doom. These same energies will ensure that my message reaches its intended destination regardless of the distances involved. The device that takes shape over the following weeks represents a fusion of Imperial science with Earth's most advanced theoretical physics. Doom's expertise in dimensional manipulation combines with Stark's arc reactor technology and Richard's portal research to create something that neither world could have achieved independently. But the communicator's completion triggers responses that neither Vader nor Doom had fully anticipated. The massive energy discharges begin affecting Earth's magnetic field, creating aurora phenomena visible from space and causing electrical disruptions across multiple continents. Shield's monitoring stations detect gravitational anomalies that suggest either massive hidden technology or natural phenomena that threaten global stability. Director Fury orders increased surveillance of the Latverian region, but conventional sensors prove inadequate for analyzing energies that operate outside normal physical parameters. The dimensional distortions also attract the attention of beings whose existence transcends normal reality. The Watchers, cosmic entities charged with observing significant events across the universe, focus their attention on Earth as they recognize the potential consequences of Vader's project. In his sanctum, Doctor Strange feels the cosmic disturbances like physical blows to his mystical senses. The dimensional barriers that separate Earth from hostile realities are weakening, creating vulnerabilities that could allow invasion by entities far worse than any previous threat the planet has faced. Strange immediately begins weaving protective spells around the planet's dimensional boundaries. But his efforts prove inadequate against forces that operate according to principles beyond his magical training. The energies that Vader commands seem to exist partially outside normal space-time, making them resistant to conventional mystical intervention. The Ancient One herself appears in Strange's sanctum, her normally serene expression replaced by concern that borders on fear. The former Sorcerer Supreme has witnessed cosmic events that would terrify lesser beings. But the implications of Vader's activities represent threats that challenge even her vast experience. Stephen, the barriers between dimensions are weakening at an unprecedented rate. Someone is attempting to establish communication across distances that should be impossible to bridge. If they succeed, the consequences for Earth could be catastrophic. I've been monitoring the disturbances. Ancient One. The energies involved operate according to principles that don't match any known magical traditions. But I can sense a focused intelligence behind the effects. Someone who understands cosmic forces in ways that exceed normal mystical education. You must gather the other masters and begin reinforcing the dimensional barriers immediately. Whatever is attempting this communication must not be allowed to succeed. The forces they are manipulating could attract the attention of entities that view Earth as either a threat to be eliminated or a resource to be consumed. As mystical defenses begin forming around Earth's dimensional boundaries, Vader senses the magical interference through the Force. The planet's mystical defenders have finally recognized the nature of his project, but their understanding remains limited by parochial magical traditions that cannot comprehend imperial science. The Sorcerer Supreme attempts to interfere with cosmic forces beyond his understanding. His magic is sophisticated, but ultimately primitive compared to proper mastery of universal energies. Vader begins channeling dark side power through the communicator's focusing arrays, using Sith techniques to overcome the mystical barriers that Strange and his allies have erected. The resulting clash between magical defenses and Force-powered technology creates energy discharges that register on instruments across the globe. Meanwhile, the superhero community mobilizes in response to the global disruptions that Vader's project is creating. The energy signatures detected by their various monitoring systems suggest either an impending invasion or the activation of a weapon system with planetary-scale destructive potential. Tony Stark coordinates with Reed Richards and other scientific minds to analyze the phenomenon, but their instruments prove inadequate for understanding technology that operates according to principles they've never encountered. The energy patterns suggest manipulation of fundamental forces in ways that challenge their understanding of physics. We're seeing gravitational fluctuations that shouldn't be possible with any known technology. Read. Whatever is causing these effects is operating on a scale that exceeds anything we've previously encountered. Richard studies the data with growing alarm, recognizing patterns that suggest deliberate construction rather than natural phenomena. The precision of the energy manipulation indicates intelligence and planning that exceeds anything Earth science has achieved. Tony, these readings suggest someone is attempting to create a stable dimensional portal on a scale that would require power sources equivalent to stellar cores. The technology involved represents advances that are decades beyond our current capabilities. The X-Men detect the disturbances through Cerebro's psychic monitoring network, as Professor Xavier's mental awareness extends across the globe to investigate the source of the cosmic interference. What he discovers challenges his understanding of consciousness and mental energy on a universal scale. Jean, I'm detecting psychic emanations that seem to operate independently of normal thought patterns. Someone is using mental disciplines that transcend conventional telepathic abilities to guide technological processes across impossible distances. Jean Grey extends her consciousness alongside her mentors, her Phoenix-enhanced awareness, probing the edges of the disturbance. What she encounters sends shockwaves through her psychic defenses as she realizes the scope of the intelligence they're dealing with. Professor, this isn't just advanced technology. There's a consciousness involved that feels vast and ancient and focused in ways that are almost frightening. Whatever is happening, it's being directed by someone whose mental capabilities exceed anything we've encountered. As the communicator approaches full operational status, Vader begins the final calibration sequence that will establish contact with the Empire. The targeting system locks onto dimensional coordinates that lead back to his own galaxy, while the power core builds to energy levels that begin affecting local space-time in measurable ways. The first transmission pulse that emerges from the device carries more than just communication signals. It bears the psychic imprint of Vader's consciousness across the dimensional void, seeking the familiar dark presence of his master. Through the Force, he reaches across impossible distances to touch the mind of Emperor Palpatine on the Imperial throne world of Coruscant. In a galaxy far beyond the dimensional barriers that separate realities, Emperor Palpatine pauses in the middle of reviewing military reports as he feels an impossible sensation. The psychic touch of his apprentice reaches across the void between worlds, carrying with it visions of a new reality ripe for conquest. Through the dark side connection that binds master and apprentice, Palpatine experiences Vader's journey to Earth. His analysis of the planet's defenses and his assessment of the opportunities that this new world presents. The images that flow through their Force bond reveal a civilization with remarkable potential but inadequate unity and leadership. The Emperor's withered lips curve in a smile of anticipation as he comprehends the scope of the opportunity that Vader has discovered. Here is a world whose people possess abilities that rival those of Jedi and Sith, but who lack the discipline and organization that would make them truly dangerous. Their heroes serve democratic institutions rather than seizing power themselves. Their criminals operate without coordination or grand vision. Most importantly, their scientists have developed technologies that could enhance Imperial capabilities, while their leaders remain ignorant of the cosmic forces that surround them. Earth represents not just another world to conquer, but a source of knowledge and power that could advance the Empire's expansion into new galaxies. The communication link that Vader has established allows for the transmission of detailed intelligence about Earth's political structure, military capabilities, and the enhanced individuals who serve as its primary defenders. Each piece of information confirms Palpatine's growing conviction that this world deserves his personal attention. My apprentice, you have exceeded even my expectations. This world you have discovered possesses resources and opportunities that could reshape the Empire's destiny. Continue your operations while I prepare for a more direct approach to Earth's integration into our dominion. The Emperor immediately begins mobilizing the Imperial fleet's most advanced reconnaissance vessels, ships equipped with experimental hyperspace drives that might be capable of crossing the dimensional barriers that separate the galaxies. If Vader's modifications to the communication array prove successful, they could establish a permanent gateway that would allow for full-scale military intervention. But Palpatine's strategic mind recognizes that conquest through infiltration and manipulation will prove more effective than direct military assault. Earth's heroes have demonstrated the ability to repel massive invasions, but they have shown no capability for detecting or countering the subtle corruption that is the Empire's greatest weapon. The plan that takes shape in the Emperor's mind involves the gradual replacement of Earth's leadership with Imperial agents, the corruption of their enhanced individuals through promises of power and purpose, and the systematic elimination of those who prove incorrigible in their opposition to proper order. Vader's criminal networks will serve as the foundation for this infiltration, providing the infrastructure necessary to support Imperial operations while maintaining the illusion that Earth's conflicts remain purely internal. By the time the planet's defenders recognize the true scope of the threat they face, Imperial control will be too deeply entrenched to dislodge. As the communication session concludes and the dimensional link stabilizes into a permanent connection, Vader allows himself a moment of satisfaction at the success of his greatest undertaking. The device continues to hum with cosmic energies that maintain contact across the void between realities, ensuring that future communications will require less power and create fewer detectable disturbances. The dimensional communicator represents more than just a technological achievement. It marks the beginning of Earth's transformation from an isolated world into a component of the galactic empire. The heroes who have opposed him will soon face challenges that exceed their capacity to understand or counter. S.H.I.E.L.D's most advanced monitoring systems detect the successful establishment of the communication link, but their analysis proves inadequate for understanding what has been accomplished. The energy signatures suggest some form of successful dimensional portal creation, but the implications remain beyond their comprehension. Director Fury convenes emergency sessions with world leaders and superhero organizations, but their responses prove inadequate to the scope of the threat they now face. Earth's defenders continue to think in terms of planetary conflicts rather than galactic conquest, leaving them unprepared for the Imperial strategies that will soon unfold. As weeks pass and the communication link remains stable, Vader begins receiving detailed instructions from the Emperor regarding the next phase of Earth's integration into the Empire. Advanced Imperial technology begins arriving through small dimensional rifts, providing resources that will enhance his criminal networks while remaining undetectable to Earth's surveillance systems. The criminal organizations that serve Vader begin receiving equipment and training that transforms them from mere lawbreakers into the foundation of an Imperial occupation force. Enhanced weapons, advanced communication systems, and tactical doctrine that has conquered star systems begin flowing into Earth's underworld. Enhanced individuals who have joined Vader's cause receive training in Imperial military techniques and force disciplines that amplify their natural abilities while binding them more tightly to the dark side. Each recruit becomes not just a criminal operative, but a potential enforcer for the new order that will emerge once conquest is complete. The transformation is gradual and subtle, designed to avoid triggering the massive response that an overt invasion would provoke. Earth's heroes continue their reactive approach to crisis management, unaware that they are fighting symptoms, while the true disease spreads throughout their world's power structures. Soon, Earth will learn what it means to be ruled by the Sith. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.